there is a maximum.
Let's stand for the pledge, please.
Whatever.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for May the 5th, 2014. We will call it to order at 7:08. And if we could get a roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Martin Manick.
Here.
Michael Cashman.
Here.
Art Renadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 154, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of April 21st and April 28th, 2014 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Art Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. We had one resolution that was tabled last Monday at our work session. We need to bring it forward again. Resolution 153, request to attend American Water Works Annual Conference and Exposition.
Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Department is required to maintain professional training and licensing. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town to remain current and informed concerning changes in the water and wastewater regulations, technology updates, and related system efficiencies. Therefore, be resolved that Paul Wright of the Water and Wastewater Department be allowed to attend the annual Water Wastewater Annual Conference and Exposition to be held from June 8th through June 12th, 2014 in Boston, Massachusetts. And to be further resolved that $1,477.17 for lodging and meals and $880 for registration for the conference for Paul Wright be charged to the water and wastewater budget.
Have a motion. Is there a motion? If not, this resolution 153 will simply fall off the table. Resolution 155, abstract 5A.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 5A-14, 742 to 822 for $173,673.35, and abstract 5A-14, 168 to 181 prepaids in the amount of $345,963.23 be received as reviewed by the audit committee and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Mark Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 156, Building Maintenance and Safety Committee Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Art Rowe, Building Maintenance Supervisor for the month of April 2014.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Mark Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 157, Highway Superintendent's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from James Wood, Superintendent of Highways for the month of April 2014.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Mark Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 158, Parks and Recreation Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Melanie Defiant, Recreation and Youth Director for the month of April 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
I just want to bring up the fact that our rec department is doing some really phenomenal things, and that was very evident with the Vision to Action Forum. The partnership that they've been creating with the city and also the county youth bureau was very evident, and that department should be applauded.
Which also results in an awful lot of weekend activities and evenings, which sometimes we miss and don't see. And It does need to be noted. Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion or comments? Roll call.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
George Rundstedt.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 159, Planning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Phil Von Bargen, Planning and Engineering Department Head for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renner, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman,
Yes.
George Rundstedt.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 160, Water Wastewater Department's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Scott Stoddard, Water and Wastewater Department Director for the month of March 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion? Roll call.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
George Rundstedt.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 161, resolution to set a public hearing for local law number 1, keeping town sidewalks clear of snow, ice, and debris.
Whereas Supervisor Bassett has introduced proposed local law number 1 of the year 2014 entitled Keeping Town Sidewalks Clear of Snow, Ice, and Debris. Whereas the proposed local law number 1 of 2014 would provide for the town of Plattsburgh a policy to prohibit the dumping or placement of snow, ice, or any other substance likely to injure or impede any person, animal, or vehicle using sidewalks maintained by the town. Whereas pursuant to Part 617 of the Implementation Regulations of Article 8, State Environmental Quality Review Act, the Town Board, Town of Plattsburgh, is the lead agent in this matter shall be determined upon the option of the proposed local law would have a significant effect upon the environment. And whereas due consideration has been given to the adoption of the proposed local law number 1 of 2014 by all members of the Town Board, whereas it is in considered opinion of all the members of the Town Board who are present at the public hearing should be held on 19th day of May 2014 at 7:30 p.m. at the Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, to consider the adoption of proposed local law number 1 of 2014. Now, on a motion duly made and seconded, it is resolved that the public hearing be held on 19th day of May 2014 at 7:30 p.m. at the Plattsburgh Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, on the question of enactment of the proposal local law number 1 of 2014. And it be further resolved that notice of the public hearing of local law number 1 of 2014 shall be published in the town's official newspaper, the Press Republican, not less than 5 days prior to that hearing. And it be further resolved that the town clerk shall post said notice on the bulletin board maintained by the town clerk pursuant to town law, section 30-6, and also on the Town of Plattsburgh website for a period of not less than 5 days prior to the public hearing. And then a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and to the town clerk.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion?
I just want to reiterate, it's been said time and time again, this is not an attempt to encourage or force people to clean up their sidewalks because of snowfall. What this is to act as a deterrent for businesses and the people that they contract with from dumping snow on the sidewalks once the town has cleaned them. There's been instances of that where certain businesses have hired somebody to clean the snow. The snow's been put back on the sidewalk, creating a hazard to people who try to use those sidewalks. So that's what this local law is intended to do.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
George Rundstedt.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 162, set a public hearing concerning 310 Stafford Road.
Whereas the town board has received a written unsafe building report from Steve Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer, dated April 4th, 2014. Whereas Mr. Imhoff has informed the town board that after several attempts to contact the owner requesting that the owner to repair and make safe the building, there has been no progress made, and the subject property has been in the state of disrepair for years, and the orders to remedy have been served on the owner, and there has been no effect to bring the property into compliance, and that the owner and other family members have not responded. Whereas the report and findings by Mr. Imhoff together, which includes photographs taken on April 4, 2014 to demonstrate the unhealthy and unsafe condition consisting of trash, garbage, debris, and deteriorating structure, and the town board approval resolution 06-195, Mr. Imhoff has issued an order to repair and complete compliance, stating that the work must be completed in compliance within 30 days of said notice, and it must be completed within 60 days of said notice in accordance with the local law number 1 of the year 1983. Whereas the owner has failed to comply with said notice, the town board, in accordance with section 9 of the above stated local law, shall provide for the demolition and removal of the structure within 90 days of the date of said notice. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, after due consideration of the report and recommendations, finds some warrant ordering the structure to be demolished and removed in the time frame as recommended by Mr. Imhoff, and it is further resolved that a public hearing will be held on such order of May 19, 2014 at 7:15 p.m. prevailing time at the Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Clinton County, Plattsburgh, New York. And it be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to have said public hearing notice published in the local press Republican as required by town law. And it be further resolved that the attached notice be served upon the owner of such persons as interest that may appear, and file all in the manner as provided by local law number 1 of the year 1983.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renata, second Mr. Mannix. Any discussion? Couple things. Rick, this resolution did not have the same notification as the earlier one. We also need to have this on the bulletin board and get it put on the website. So I add those two as well, so it's the same as the prior one. Also, just a footnote, I guess, for the codes officers for the town, there's a rather lengthy process to get to this point with documented effort to contact the owners, to mitigate the situation, to contact the lending institution, et cetera, et cetera. And the town did structure, at least based on my experience, a local law in 1983 that really has held very well and been, done a good job for the town. It's sad in many ways, but when you have a structure that's been abandoned, it's dilapidated, such as this one where there was a fire and there's no resolution by the property owner. In some cases, you can't find someone to take responsibility. In other cases, it's easier for them to just walk away. But it certainly does appear to be a process that works. It takes time, but the process appears to be a very good one. I commend the community for bringing these things to our attention. You don't just have patrols out there checking on every property in the town. That's important sometimes. But also follow through is important. And the cleanup, of course, will be welcomed by the neighbors. It's a good process, it really is. If anyone has any further comment, it takes work by the team, and a team that's got not only good laws to work with, but they're willing to enforce them. The conversation we had earlier. Okay, if there's no other comment, I would ask for a roll call, please.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cass,
Yes.
Gerard Renada.
Yes.
Brenda Bass.
Yes, the resolution is carried. Resolution 163, request to attend American Water Annual Conference and Exposition.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Department is required to maintain professional training and licensing. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town that the staff remain current and informed concerning changes in the water and wastewater regulations, technology update, related system efficiencies. Therefore be resolved that Scott Stoddard of the Water and Wastewater Department be allowed to attend the annual conference and exposition to be held June 8th through June 12th, 2014 in Boston, Massachusetts. And it is further resolved that $2,685.73 for lodging and meals, registration, parking, tolls, etc. for Scott Stoddard be charged to the water and wastewater budget, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and water and wastewater director.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Rendez.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 164, request to attend the American Water Works Annual Conference and Exposition.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Water and Wastewater Department is required to maintain professional training and licensing. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town for staff to remain current and informed concerning changes in the water and wastewater regulations, technology updates, and related system efficiencies. Therefore be resolved that Paul Wright of the Water and Wastewater Department be allowed to attend the annual Water Wastewater Conference and Exposition to be held June 8th through June 12th, 2014 in Boston, Massachusetts. And it be further resolved that $2,357.17 for registration, lodging, meals for Paul Wright be charged to the water and wastewater budget. And that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and the water and wastewater director.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to comment, a substantial amount of money that's being spent to send these two gentlemen to Boston for the conference and the exposition. And I think, you know, the board has taken a substantial amount of time to go over exactly what the funds will be used for, on as far as to request copies of the agendas of the meetings that will be held, etc. As was mentioned in the resolution, part of the rationale for the meeting is the professional training and licensing and the qualifications of their licensing that are met by their attending the meetings and being kept current on those issues. So while it could appear to some to be you know, an extraordinary amount of money to be allocated, it isn't. It's an amount of money that's necessary and an amount of money that we find returned to us in the quality of the work that we get. I think just within the last week or 10 days, we had incurrence on Route 3, and the expertise that our people had handling equipment, which they've requested be purchased, and we had available to them. All of that came together to allow them to deal with a situation that could have been extremely expensive had they not been able to get it under control in as timely a fashion as they did.
Thank you, Marty. I was concerned that we might act on these too rapidly, and if someone is watching this tape, it would appear how, you know, it's very easy to simply make a request to go to a conference. And this has been discussed many times. It came forward, was tabled for more information, and that really is important because there's an awful lot of work that takes place before the resolution ever gets to this point. But the other thing that I've said before, and it's very important about this conference, and I'm glad they're willing to go because it takes time out of their personal lives as well. They're going to be gone way beyond their normal workday. But this is a national conference, and it won't be on the East Coast again for quite some time. So their exposure to ideas and information really goes way beyond what we might learn in certainly Albany or New York City even. And that's the value. The next time, we don't know when the next time it'll be on the East Coast. I'm pleased they're able to do this, and I think there'll be rewards for that.
And I won't rehash everything that the two of you have already said, but I would agree in the sentiment of, as being one of the individuals that suggested that this be tabled for a period of time for further review. That's why I'm now behind it, is having the opportunity to see what the conference is actually providing our town. So.
Well, and I'll let them know, we're going to be very interested to hear their reports and learn what they've learned. One of the big issues has been, how do we calculate a real price for making 1,000 gallons of water? And that seems to be a tough number to nail down. I know that's something I've sent them to try and find out. How do other municipalities balance the cost of production against their selling price and factor in the multitude of issues? So hopefully they'll get some answers on that one. And that's a tough item, because there just aren't that many neighboring municipalities dealing with the same topic, let alone dealing with it successfully. So we'll see what they have. But thank you for bringing that up, Marty, because sometimes it makes it appear to be very fast action by this board, but this is culminating action versus any initial behaviors. Anyone have anything else, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renada.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 165, bid award for a 2015 tandem axle plow chassis.
Whereas resolution 014-103 authorized the advertisement for bids to be opened on April 14, 2014 for a 2015 tandem axle plow chassis. Whereas said bids were opened and the highway superintendent and the town clerk have reviewed all bids received. Therefore be resolved that the town board approve the purchase as recommended by the highway superintendent, and that the highway superintendent is hereby authorized to make said purchase. And it be further resolved the purchase of a 2015 tandem axle plow chassis be awarded to the low bidder, Charlie Boys Incorporated, 950 South 7th, Milton, Vermont, 05468, in the amount of $114,925. And it be further resolved that payment be made payable from the Equipment Capital Outlay Budget Account, DA 5130-2000. And that a copy of this resolution be given to the Highway Superintendent and the Finance Manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Renada.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 166, bid award for plow equipment and dump body.
Whereas resolution 14-102 authorized the advertisement for bids to be opened on April 14, 2014 for snow plow equipment and dump body. Whereas bids were opened on April 14, 2014, and the highway superintendent and the town clerk have reviewed all bids received. Therefore, it be resolved that the town board approve the purchase as recommended by the highway superintendent, and that the highway superintendent is hereby authorized to make said purchase. And it be further resolved that the purchase of the dump body and snowplow equipment be awarded to the low bidder, Viking Caves USA, 14331 Mill Street, Harrisville, New York, 13608. And it be in the amount of $62,500. And it be further resolved that payment be made payable from the Equipment Outlay Budget Account DA 5130-2000. And that a copy of this resolution be given to the Highway Superintendent and the Finance Manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renada, any discussion?
Just my comment, I think, might be interesting for people to understand what this resolution is about. And it's part of what Jim is doing in his effort to control costs within that department. He is separating how he is requesting, instead of putting a resolution in to buy a dump truck and it's all fully equipped and ready to go, and here's the bill, $230,000 or whatever like that. what he's doing is he's there's one resolution that deals with the bid, to go out to bid on the chassis, and then there's another resolution where we go out to bid for the plow and for the other peripheral equipment that will be used on that vehicle. And the first time he did this was, I believe, 2 years ago. It may have been the beginning of 2013, I'm not clear on that. But I know that the first time he did this, he demonstrated that he was able substantially to reduce the cost of the vehicle and actually improve the quality of, in particular, some of the ancillary equipment that ends up on the vehicle, because he's able to get the equipment he wanted, as opposed to having to deal just with the manufacturer who was producing the truck chassis. So I think it's a breakthrough, and I know that some other highway superintendents have been after him for information about it, because they're very interested in seeing how he's been able to bring down the price of these vehicles.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Martin Minnis,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Remmele.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 167, Family and Medical Leave Act Policy Revision.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has adopted a Family and Medical Leave Act policy by resolution 96-307. Whereas recent revisions have been made to the Family and Medical Leave Act, and the town board wishes to ensure the town Family and Medical Leave Act is up to date. Whereas per the attached policy revisions have been made to the town Family and Medical Leave policy in compliance with the Family Medical Leave Act legislation. Therefore be resolved that effective this date, the town revised Family Medical Leave policy will be in effect. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution and the attached revised policy be provided to the bookkeeper to update the town policy books, and then a copy be given to the finance manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas, yes. Martin Minnis,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Remmele.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 168, acceptance of leasing a vehicle for town.
Whereas it is in the town board's goal to maintain vehicles for the town employees to do business in the town of Plattsburgh. Whereas procedures for purchase of commodities, equipment, or goods and contract values require the town to solicit price quotes for any amount in excess of $5,000 for services. Whereas Steve Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer, has solicited prices and is requesting permission to place an order for a vehicle from the lowest quote, DeRocher Auto Sales Incorporated, in the amount of $254.95 per attached agreement. Therefore be resolved that the town board approve the purchase as recommended, that by Mr. Imhoff is hereby authorized to make said purchase. And it be further resolved that payment be made payable from the 2014 improvements account number A8010.2000. And then a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, Mr. Imhoff, and Cool Insurance.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renner, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion?
Can I get that same deal?
Yeah, don't.
I think we need to amend this slightly so that it's $254.95 per month.
Yeah.
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 Straight sale, you don't like it?
We may like it, but all right.
Even the initial 3,000 would be, an overstatement of the transaction.
As amended, Gerard, Mike, is that fine with you?
It's minimal.
Any other discussion? The one thing I don't have with mine, I don't think anybody does, because I don't think we got it yet, unless you did, Jim, is,
The contract?
yeah.
No.
We have a vehicle order for the agreement, but we haven't seen the contract. I would encourage this to go forward, vote as you see appropriate, but If indeed this passes, I'm going to sit on implementing it until we get the contract and it gets reviewed by the town attorney. If at that point it is as we believe it should be, then we go forward. But I'm not going to until we see it and get it reviewed.
If you wanna put per monthly lease agreement in there, you wanna put lease in there too?
Yes,
That's what it
Where,
is.
because that is what this is the lease
Right,
agreement,
the
so.
lease.
I know we mentioned it in the title, but I think the town clerk is correct that we should probably mention it.
Per attached lease agreement.
For attached lease, very good.
got it? Any other discussion? With the note as indicated, it won't be acted on until we get the contract. The contract is reviewed. If there are any concerns, it won't be acted on until I bring it back to you. Roll call, please.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cotton.
Yes.
John Renner.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Brings us to the grand finale. At this point, I have nothing else. I don't think anyone has any other comments, concerns this evening.
I would just note, for folks that are watching on public access, or for other members of the community, that our meetings can now be found at our website, thetownofplattsburgh.com or org, and we have a YouTube channel, so it's a nice resource, particularly for students that may be needing to do some transcriptions or different things like that as well, or community members that want to see what's going on, and aren't able to make it to our meetings.
I was going to argue, I was afraid you were going to say that for the students in lieu of coming.
No, not in
to
lieu of coming,
you still have
unfortunately.
to come. That's to follow up with notes and so on. Well, that's a good idea. Thank you for sharing that. And Ricky, we had discussed some, also having you tape our work sessions. I don't know if the board wants to further discuss that, but we thought that might not be a bad idea, and it'll keep them civil. Okay. Any other discussion, which we probably should have had a motion first, but can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, a second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any other discussion? Roll call.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
John Renner.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we will stand adjourned at 7:40.